Good afternoon. Have you ever think what happened to your brain when you drink alcohol and what are the short-term and long-term consequences? Let's discover together. When a person ingests alcohol drinks, the alcohol mixes in the consumer bloodstream and through the bloodstream the alcoholic molecules enter the brain. While drinking alcohol, there are some neurotoxins secreted by chemicals present in alcohol drinks. These neurotoxins temporarily block the neural pathways present in the brain, so the neurons in the brain won't be able to communicate efficiently or trigger the electrical impulse. Due to this, there are reduced motor or sensory coordination between the brain and the body. By consuming alcohol, the brain releases certain chemicals called endorphins, happy chemicals. So many feel happy while drinking and triggers emotion in an extreme manner. Continuous consumption will lead to a drop of serotonin levels and chemicals associated with the excitement and happiness. Nevertheless, it will leave the consumer feeling sad or depressed at the end of the day. Drinking alcohol also puts the consumer in a state of hue secretion of GABA. It's a chemical that slows the brain down, which results in a constant state of irritation, anxiety, and being agitated. The alcohol damages the blood vessels present in the consumer brain and causes high blood pressure. Now, let's talk a little bit about the impact in the short term. Alcohol has impact on almost every part of the brain, interfering different lobes and to lose functionality, causing impaired speech, lessening decision-making disabilities. However, the most known symptom that we know, and maybe some of you have experienced it, is a blackout, which happens in hippocampus, located in the temporal lobe of the brain. So how is a blackout actually formed inside your brain? When you start to take one sip of alcohol, it will stress the cell in the hippocampus region, causing a release of corticosteroid in order to protect brain cells. However, in this way, it also inhibits neurons from creating connection, which are responsible for making memories. In this way, you don't remember anything of the blackout. Now, in long term, the brain could suffer a reduction in the size. According to post-mortem studies using computer tomography, we can perceive an enlargement in the cellular ventricles that reflect a shrinkage of the brain mass. The reduction of the brain mass is probably due to the combination of actual loss of nerve cells and reduction in the cell size. Investigators have found that 22% reduction in the number of neurons in the prefrontal cortex and motor cortex of the alcoholics compared with the non-alcoholics controls, making the consumer more vulnerable in the Alzheimer's disease. To conclude, we can say that alcohol disrupts neurotransmission, which in simple words means that the alcohol changes the way that brain nerves communicate with one another. Which part of the brain alcohol affects? Alcohol interacts with three powerful neurotransmitter chemicals messengers that are responsible for communication. The nucleus accumbens, that the nucleus accumbens is an important structure in the middle of the brain that is part of the reward pathway. This maintains motivation, pleasure, satiety, memories, and alcohol enhances and releases dopamine, which then produces feeling of euphoria and well-being. Nevertheless, this is also why alcohol can be so addictive. The second one is the glutamate receptors. This is a chemical that excites neurons. Alcohol binds to glutamate receptors and blocks them, or keeps them from being activated. Finally, that we mentioned in advance, the GABA receptors. This is the chemical that slows the brain down. Alcohol also binds the GABA receptors and activates the receptor. Between alcohol interactions with the GBA and glutamate, the next effect is depression of brain activity. This effect doesn't just result in general drowsiness, but it also slows your breathing, thinking, and even suppress the gut reflex. Thanks for your attention and drink with measure.